5 of Digital Tuesdays. I am your host, Keon Vaz, founder and CEO of Hekaya Media, a digital content company creating stories for our Caribbean entrepreneurs. Joining us today is someone very dear to me, and I'm going to be a bit biased, but you'll eventually get to know what I mean by that. She is a woman who is purpose driven, she is intentional, she's also a transformative leader. She is the founder and the host of the Entrepreneurial You podcast. I know for some of you that sounds familiar. And that podcast pretty much is connecting listeners pretty much more than over 100 countries. She has featured global leaders on the podcast, everyone. Leaders such as Richard Branson, Seth Godin, and most recently, the legendary Les Brown. Entrepreneurs, please help me to welcome to the Digital Tuesdays podcast, author, entrepreneur, and motivational speaker, Heneka Watkis-Porter. Heneka, welcome to Digital Tuesdays.
Oh my gosh, Kate, I'm so happy to be here, and I'm so humbled to hear you say all of that. Like, I'm really, truly humbled. Thank you.
Yes, I've been following your journey for a very long time, but for our listeners around the Caribbean, just give us a synopsis of how did this journey start? Like, what sparked this sort of entrepreneurial spirit inside of you?
Oh my gosh. So wow, it's a long story, but I'm gonna make it as succinctly as I possibly can. So I started entrepreneurship in 2007. My exact date that I say I'm an entrepreneur is August 7, 2007. And I started with Patwa Apparel. And I don't know how many persons remember that clothing brand with the Jamaican expressions. And that's where it all started for me. But of course, it didn't start there, because it would have been years and years of contemplating, oh, I want to do a business. What business do I do? I remember growing up selling apples by my gate, because I wanted to help my grandmother fund my school, to send me to school and stuff. So I'll try my best and do whatever I could, because I saw how hard she was struggling. And I thought, perhaps if I can help by selling some apples, then maybe, that would help a lot. So that's pretty much how it started. And then we've morphed into what I'm now doing: writing books, doing podcasting, producing podcasts, training persons to podcast. Big up to my student, YK.
Yes.
Right. And doing so many other things, hosting leadercast events, authoring, and all of that. So I'm really humbled by my journey. Lots of ups and downs, but I am grateful for every opportunity.
I know for any entrepreneur, there's always this fear when you're about to do something for the very first time. So speak to our listeners about that very first episode of the Entrepreneurial You. Describe that feeling for us.
Oh, that first episode. Can I tell you now something? That first episode never got aired that I actually recorded.
Oh, wow. Talk to us.
So for me, so now it's amazing that I'm the Jamaican Podcast Queen, and I wear that crown very proudly, right? Being the Jamaican Podcast Queen and all of that. But it never started that way. And so it's important for your listeners to understand that you just got to do something. You just got to try. You just got to start, and then you get better along the way. So what happened for me was that I was very nervous about the tech aspect of things, right? So I was doing everything. I was prepping for my podcast. I was doing the research. I was doing everything that you possibly could do. But then I was kind of, on the one hand, when I was doing that, it was like kind of a disguise, because I was, procrastinating in terms of, going to the tech and recording and editing and all of that. So eventually, though, I did reach out to someone, and I did the recording. I mean, I wasn't sure of my script and what I was going to say and all of those things. I was really nervous about it. And then the recording happened. And voila, what would you know is that all my drive, like, it crashed, and I lost everything on that computer. In fact, I got a software that would retrieve files that I lost, and I kid you not, I got back every file I lost on that computer, except what I really, really wanted to get back, which was that recording. I never got it back. I tried to speak with the person. He eventually said he would do it again, and he did it. Well, he rescheduled to do it again. And then on the day that he was supposed to record, he just came on and said, "Oh, I have to run," and he never came back. I'm like, you know what? It's good that didn't happen, because somebody like that who has no respect for my show, it's good that he wasn't on anyway. You know, I would have given him unnecessary publicity, which he doesn't deserve.
Yeah. But just to speak about the spirit of resilience though, Heneka, because I don't know, anytime I'm in media, so when things go wrong, I cry. But nobody no really see it, you know.
Yeah.
But
right,
I go into my corner, I go into the bathroom, and I'm like, Lord, what is this? But the fact that you were able to move past that and still continue.
Yeah, and to think though, my number one then. So my original number one first episode didn't happen, but the what became the first episode would be with John Lee Dumas, and that was like an amazing start, because JLD is the creme de la creme of the podcasting world, and so to have had him as my number one, my first episode, he was so gracious because I was connecting with him long before I started, and so it was a no-brainer. He decided to come on and supported what I was doing, and it was really amazing to have that.
Yes, that is amazing. And one of the things that I admire about you is that you're such a giver, and you were able to create your own podcast, but at the same time, you also created opportunities for other persons to learn. Why do you think coaching is such an important element for any entrepreneur?
Well, I can tell you, coaching and mentorship for me I'm big on that, because I recognize that it's through mentorship why I am and who I am today. I'm this person because I was mentored, and at the very early stage of different entrepreneurial exploits. I would have had different mentors and persons coaching and stuff. So I recognize that to whom much is given, much is expected, and I believe in paying it forward. And yes, although I do earn a revenue from coaching and selling the courses and stuff, but I could have decided that, I'm learning this thing for myself and keeping it to myself, because at the time when I did it, it wasn't a thing in Jamaica. Because when you tell people about a podcast, they're like, what? No, they're asking, when you talk about a podcast, they're asking, what's your podcast, instead of what is a podcast?
Yes.
And so I proudly own that, because I have done that for Jamaica and Jamaicans. And now I see people just venturing out and doing things, and we're having celebrity coming into the space, and so many people in Jamaica now are doing podcasts, and I am owning that, because I became the evangelist here, doing the radio interviews, the TV interviews, and the coaching and the workshops and stuff. So I'm really proud for how far I've seen us come, and COVID-19 has even pushed us further into teaching a lot of people about the options that are there for us to navigate and leverage digitally.
Yeah, that is so true. I just want to say thank you for that, because you've definitely witnessed the fruits of your labor, and just seeing your disciples out there as the podcast evangelist. We're going to switch gears a bit just to speak about something that we know each other. But I remembered when you reached out to me, I think it was almost a year ago, and you shared that very personal story about your health. But it wasn't, you shared it in such a way where I felt inspired. I was like, okay, you're having this sort of crisis in your life, but you have a positive outlook on the situation. Could you just tell us, our listeners, in terms of what happened almost a year ago?
Well, yeah, it's actually over a year ago, because it started in April 1. And the truth is, it didn't start on April 1. It would have started long before that. But April 1 was when all it all came tumbling down. So I was in the middle of a live interview on YouTube with somebody. I had a long day that day, and I thought, yeah, I'm tired. My last interview would be 8:00, but yeah, I'm tired. I'll be able to get through it and get some rest after. Well, smack dead in the middle of that interview, I began to pass out, and it was scary scary for me. And I thought, okay, maybe if I lay down for a minute, I'll feel better. That did not happen. I had to be rushed to the hospital, where from there, a myriad of things just happened: depression, anxiety, acid reflux, insomnia, and all of these on a very chronic level, right? So it just like everything. Whereas all along, I mean, yeah, my body was feeling tired over time, and I felt like, yeah, I'm not so good, but yeah, I just need some rest and I'll be fine. But it was not that. It was more, it was a total crash. And so everything affected me in a very negative way. Um, I've had to go on a lifestyle change and everything, lots of prayer and, changing of my diet, changing of everything. But you know what? Out of that, I knew the message to me was clear. And I remember one day when I started feeling better, I came into my office. And of course, this is the office that I'm recording from right now. I came into my office, I laid on the couch, and I looked around on my bookshelf, and I just wanted something to read. And I grabbed from my shelf a 2008 edition of Our Daily Bread. And the first day I picked up, it says, slow down and live. I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. All right. I mean, because of course I've been getting that message in very clear language before, but it was just like icing on the cake and cementing the fact that I was really going too hard. I was traveling so much. I was doing projects after projects. I mean, I had a very scary, another life-threatening event happening to me in the January of last year. And even after that, very traumatic, I still just kept going. I finished the latest book I was writing, Watkis-Porter, the quick start guide to launching and leveling up your brand. I went on 3 speaking engagements in the US before COVID put a halt on everything. And I did all of that. In the meantime, I was planning for LeaderCast that would have happened in May, and doing all of that, and being a wife, being an entrepreneur, living, and well, just existing, because clearly I wasn't living.
Right.
So all of that, and I did all of that. So when April come, like my body just I just crashed.
Yeah.
Right. And to this point, I'm still recovering from that, because it didn't happen overnight. So obviously it's not going to I'm not going to get better overnight. It's going to be a process, which I've been on a journey. So I mean, my message right now, I mean, we hear a lot about hustle and grind, and as a young entrepreneur, that's the lifestyle I live, right? Team no sleep, right? Well, I've left that team because I recognize the importance of well-being, wellness, slowing down. The journey is the reward. So it's important that along the way that we actually pause to enjoy what it is that we're doing, and examine why we're doing it, and don't get caught up in, well, everybody's doing this on social media and I have to be on social media and I have to be this. Yes, I understand it's necessary to do some things, but it is even more necessary for you to rest your body and rejuvenate and recuperate and all of that stuff.
I'm so happy you said that, because starting out, I'm new to the game in terms of this entrepreneurial journey, and
congrats, and welcome to my world.
But I know, because I started it out in terms of when everything was pretty much on lockdown and had time to think things through, but at the same time I was doing things to my body. And it's good when you have a good support system that that says to you, no, this isn't the way. And then, because I can speak to you, we're women of faith. God is the one that needs to be at the center of everything that you do, and he will bless it, and he will allow for whatever it is with good intentions for it to grow. Because I got caught up in the, oh my gosh, I have to have so many followers, I need to I need to do this, I need to do that, and I'm not getting any sleep. I'm pretty much consuming digital media in how to grow Instagram followers, what are the hacks and all these things. And there was a voice of reason. My father was like, no, if God is in it, he will allow that to grow organically. So I really want to thank you for that message about.
Yes, and sorry, yes, thank you. I know I'm interrupting you, but here's the thing.
Go ahead.
And another message that you talk about faith, right? I remember when I was getting so anxious because, one, I didn't have the energy to work at all. But then even when I started getting back a little energy, right? I'm getting anxious and I'm saying, oh my gosh, I'm spending all this money on health and I'm going into investments and there's no income coming in. And I began to panic. And I remember, like, I had to get to a place of surrender. And it's like the Spirit of the Lord literally said to me, take no thought. You know that scripture, take no thought for
Yeah,
tomorrow?
tomorrow. Yeah, for tomorrow will work itself out.
Exactly. Exactly. And I literally had to, I mean, I was in a corner where I had no choice but to surrender because the whole anxiety thing wasn't working out clearly. Right. So I had to surrender. I had to get to that place of surrender that I took no thought. And when I said, God, you know what? You're taking care of the birds of the air and the fish of the sea and everything. You're going to take care of me. You're my father. You're going to be embarrassed if I am not taken care of because you're my daddy. And I keep telling people that you're my daddy. So it's on you. I'm laying it all at your feet. And I surrendered. And you see, from that Keon, I can tell you, I have not been out of work at all.
Yes.
Right. In fact, I earned more last year, even towards the end. Sorry, from the end of last year, I earned more starting from the end of last year than I did in previous years, right? So for the couple months last year, I earned more than I did previous years. Go figure.
I'm gonna say amen.
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 Hallelujah.
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 That's what it's about. Yes, yeah. I really am happy to hear that. I just want to also ask, you know, when you came, because you came on the show for our listeners, Smile Jamaica, that I'm one of the producers for that. And I remembered Heneka just, you know, being so transparent about her actual story. And, you know, I remember the control room was like, whoa, she's brave, she's courageous. Mm-hmm. I know that we speak about resilience and all of that in the business world, but vulnerability is something that so many of us shun as Caribbean entrepreneurs. I just want to ask your perspective on that. Why do you think that is?
Well, I mean, you see, we have a big culture of pretense, and oftentimes what you see is not what you get. You know what I mean? People, because they're fearful of being judged, and truth is, we don't want to be seen in a negative light. We want people to like us, and we think for people to like us, they have to always see the better side of us, what we consider the better side of us. But we have to remind ourselves that look, we are the sum total of every experience that we have, right? And I'm not saying you need to go out and put it on a poster and say, hey, this is happening to me or whatever. You know, you have to be smart about it. But at the same time, there are people who are struggling with the same things that you were struggling with, and they just want to see a face, a familiar face, or a face that they, like, you know, oh my gosh, she's facing that too, and she's, you know, she's thriving through it. I can too, you know, and it gives people hope. And I believe when people see that we are, you know, vulnerability makes us human, right? It humanizes us, because the pretense and everything. And I'm really big on not pretending to be somebody that I'm not. What you see is what you get. And I know sometimes it works against me, but it's fine. People will judge me for it. And that's okay, because guess what? I'm not for you, right? I'm not for everybody. I'm going to be for some people, and I have to recognize that. And for those that I'm for, you know, those that I came to serve, that God has brought me here to serve, then I'm going to serve them, and I'm going to serve them in a transparent way. And if it makes me vulnerable, that's fine. I can live with that.
Yeah, powerful. Powerful. We are connected through our stories. Yes. I believe we, you know, as much as we may differ in ethnicities or whatever countries, but when we actually do get that opportunity to connect, we realize we're not that different, to be honest with you. We know what love is, we know what pain is, the universal themes that is a part of the human experience. So I really endorse what you just said. We're almost coming to a close. I wish I could talk forever, but I just want you to just leave for our listeners, you know, what is your business philosophy?
Okay, so I'm going to take my own personal philosophy, which is life transformation through inspiration. Nice. And that is my why, you know, why I get up every day and do the things that I do, because I see that people live vicariously through my own eyes. And, you know, that gives people hope, because many people have struggled and they believe, oh, you know, I'm in this situation, it can't get any better. Get any better, and I can't do any better, and I can't be any better. But when they see other people who would have gone through very trying circumstances like myself, I mean, it would take a year and a day to go through all that I have been through. And I have thrived in spite of all the things that I have been through. And so I believe to whom much is given, much is expected, right? Be a river, not a reservoir. We shouldn't be storing up what we have, but we should share. Give and it will come back to us. And it doesn't always mean give in terms of monetary resources or whatever, but give of your talent, your time, and give of yourself to people in a way that will make them feel empowered, in a transparent way, however vulnerable that makes you.
Thank you so much. What a great way to end this episode of Digital Tuesdays. Heneka Watkis-Porter, uh, producer, coach, author. I could go on. Thank you so much for joining us, being our special guest. For our listeners though, because I always have my guests have the opportunity to share their social media handles. Where can we find you? What platforms, what upcoming projects, that we can look forward to. So I'm just going to give you the opportunity right now just to share with us all that
Okay. All right.
information.
Great. Thank you so much for this opportunity, Kayan. So, of course, I can be found henekawatkis.com. And right there, you can send me a WhatsApp message via the homepage and it comes directly to my phone. And all my other social media handles there. So, you look for me, Heneka Watkis-Porter, on social media, you'll find me as well. Coming up in the works, of course, I continue to produce podcasts for myself, the Entrepreneurial You, and other companies like the Jamaica Stock Exchange and Exim Bank. So look out for their podcast. One is already started, one's coming soon. And Leadercast is coming up. I'm doing private Leadercast. I'm hosting this year, not a public event, but
Yes.
yeah, private events. So that's coming up as well. And just connect with me. I want to hear from you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I hope everyone got that information, but in true Digital Tuesday style, I will be dropping all that information in the description box so you can have a chance to connect with Heneka. That's where we leave you for today's episode of Digital Tuesdays. Please remember to share, to like, and subscribe to the podcast because that's how we get a chance to connect with you. Thank you so much to everyone. Until next time, I am Keon Vaz.